You're now enrolled in the School of BlackNegroJItsu. Is it your first day? Don't worry. The master, LeRoiStephon, and his co-instructors, David, Mike, will take it easy on you, rookie. Welcome to the School of BlackNegroJItsu. I'm your host, the Master of BlackNegroJItsu, LeRoiStephon. I'm joined by my co-instructor at the School of BlackNegroJItsu, Dave Margulis, but we're down a co-host, co-instructor Mike from Mike's MMA Picks is not here today. So it's just going to be me and Dave. Nonetheless, we've got two great fighter interviews for you and a slew of topics on deck today. We're going to talk about International Fight Week curse. We lost a bunch of fights this week. Per the usual, lost a bunch of fights last year, UFC 200. We're going to talk UFC 213. We're going to talk declining fighters. The impact of high-profile fights getting pulled from a fan perspective, fighter perspective, and promotional perspective. And, of course, the two fighter interviews are Aiemann Zahabi. He is and speaking of instructors, he's one of the coaches at TriStar Gym in Canada, along with his brother, Aiemann Zahabi. And then we're also going to have UFC 1 legend, Art One Glove Jimmerson, from my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. Awesome to speak to that guy. So I'm going to have him on later. So we're going to do probably Aiemann Zahabi first and then Art Jimmerson second. All right. But like I said, we got a lot on tap today. Before we get into any of it, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, BallClubBox.com. Ball Club Box, only sponsor, all we got. Ball Club Box is a sports apparel product that offers their subscribers a monthly gift box full of quality licensed sports merchandise that reflects their customer support for their team. Usually these items only appear at specific stadiums or sports stores, but they intend to make it easier for customers to support their desired franchise without leaving their homes and in some cases state. Club Box meets the needs of customers by offering the same licensed quality items you may purchase from stadiums and sports stores without having to pay high prices. Offered in a 6-item package or executive club box, which offers 10 items of a specific team. Each month, a club box will sponsor a team or lets you pick teams from any of the major sports leagues, NFL, MLB, NHL, NCAA, to send to your customers, making available a wide variety of merchandise conveniently packaged at a fraction of the cost without purchasing each item separately. They got 3 different deals here that you can do. You can do the club box, which is $55 for $75 worth of apparel. You get to pick 2 teams here, and you get 10 items, I believe. The executive club box is $75 for $125 of apparel. Much better deal. That's 3 teams for 12 items, and the Ball Club Season Pass is 3 executive club boxes for $150. That is $150 for $375 worth of apparel. Jesus Christ, that's $225 more of a deal than you get with the executive club box. That's the best deal. That's 3 months full of executive club boxes. Like I said, gotta go check them out. Ball Club Box, BallClubBox.com is where you can do that. That's our sponsor, but let's get into this thing right nizzle. First of all, we got to talk about UFC 213. Amanda Nunes had to pull out of the fight on the day of the fight due to what has now, people were talking about weight cutting and all this stuff, but it was common knowledge. I knew it. She talked about it last year, UFC 200, because she got sick before the Ronda Rousey fight. She's got chronic sinus. She struggles with sinus infections or chronic sinusitis. I think it's the same thing. I don't know. Somebody told me there was a difference. We're going to have a doctor, or we're going to bring physical therapist Kevin Nicholson in to talk about it. I don't know if that's his area of expertise, but we will see. And we're going to talk about that next week. But this week, man, it was known a year ago that Amanda Nunes, when she travels on planes, she gets sick, okay, with a sinus infection. Dana White and company knew this. And I knew this, and that's why I picked 100% of Valentina Shevchenko on DraftKings, is because Amanda Nunes has always gassed out in the later rounds because she's sick during the fight week. Because if she gets on the plane, she's going to get a sinus infection, okay? Now, Dana White is talking about she'll never headline a card again, but he knew about this, or he should have, because I did, all right? And I think that it's he's blaming Amanda Nunes, but what he has neglected to do is that he neglected to kind of take his champion and maybe have her move to Las Vegas, or, you know, address this situation before one of the biggest fight cards of the year. And he lost yet another fight from this, in addition to Robbie Lawler and Donald Cerrone. And I believe a couple other fights too. So this is another international fight week down the drain. You remember last year at UFC 200, we had the John Jones Daniel Cormier main event go down the drain. But Dave, here's my question for you. I think this is more Dana White's fault, than it is Amanda Nunes' fault, because he knows when she travels, she gets sick, okay? That's just the thing that she can't help. Why would you have one of your champions in a situation where you know what the variables are and you've seen the results of it, and you allow for something crazy like that to happen? You know? So, I mean, yeah, last year at the International Fight Week, Dave, so yeah, okay, go ahead and answer that question for me. Do you think this is more Nunes' fault or more Dana White's fault?
So, LeRoy, so I'm gonna start by saying I think this kind of goes back into, you know, what we spoke on prior episodes, right? I think that, once again, this is the whole WMG-IME UFC machine trying to churn out too many events in too short a time and focusing on quality above quantity, right? So I think if they were to consolidate and do less cards and stack the cards a little bit better, you would basically be able to, you know, create different headliners, or, you know, create more fights that are appealing to fans that would kind of basically play as a fail-safe if something like this was to fall through, right? I think that it's a mutual. I think it's mutually an issue, right? I think it's partially Dana's fault, and I think it's partially Nunes's fault, right? I think Dana's at fault because if he has any knowledge of this beforehand, I agree, right? He should have. He can't force a fighter to live where they don't want to live, right? If Nunes wants to live and fight out of Brazil, or, you know, travel to Florida and train out of Florida, that's her prerogative, right? But I think that he's got to, you know, if that's the case, he's got to make sure she's not headlining the fight. I think it's also possibly Nunes' fault because from all the accounts I've been reading, supposedly she was able to fight. Initially, I think the reports came out and they were saying that she was hospitalized and the doctors weren't clear her to fight. But then Dana White turned around and I guess said that's not true. She was medically cleared to fight, but she decided she wasn't able to fight. I mean, I think if you're one of the baddest women in the world, you are the women's champion, right? I think that you've got to it's I don't know the effects of sinusitis, but I know that I've had sinus infections before. They're a pain in the ass. It's tough to breathe. You've got congestion basically in the bridge of your nose, a lot of congestion, like head pressure and ear pressure. But I don't see a reason as to why that would stop or prevent her from being able to fight, especially if she was medically cleared to fight.
I mean, it's affected her terribly in the past. She gets to the second round, she has nothing left. So I think this is Dana White's fault, because if I was banking on her being sick and fading, Dana White should have known and should have been help in the camp. Her camp should have known and flown her out earlier. If she's going to get sick during fight week, fly her out 4 weeks before the fight so she can go ahead and get through that, and then, or 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, you know, maybe even before the camp starts, 9 weeks out, so she can get in there Get that out of the way and then fight. That would be a smart thing to do. Failure on both sides. Lots of money was lost. But let's get to the International Fight Week curse. This is the second year in a row that we've lost a main event. Last year, not only did they lose the main event, which was Jones versus Cormier, they also lost Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz and Mousasi versus Brunson, which was eventually replaced with Mousasi versus Santos. But this year, they lost Michael Bisping versus Georges St. Pierre. Robbie Lawler versus Donald Cerrone. Cody Garbrandt versus T.J. Dillashaw. And Amanda Nunes versus Valentina Shevchenko. That was absolutely a stacked fight card that absolutely just fell apart again. The curse of International Fight Week. It seems to me like WME-IMG doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And not only do they not know what the hell they're doing, but they've got a curse on them. And their biggest weekends are continuously falling apart as the organization continues to continuously fall apart. Do you think International Fight Week is cursed, Dave Mark? What do you think's going on?
So I'm going to start off by saying I don't believe in curses, right? If the Red Sox can win a World Series in my lifetime, and if the Chicago Cubs can win a World Series in my lifetime, I'm not going to believe in any curses.
I forgot. Alistair Overeem's house blew up. I forgot about that too, or wherever he was staying blew up. So that's another thing that happened this week.
Wow,
absolutely disastrous.
I don't mean to laugh at that situation. That's awful, but I actually didn't even hear about that. But I once again, right, it's tough to predict. Obviously, something like all these fights dropping off, right? But it's just going to go back. I'm going to sound like a broken record, repeating myself again and again. But I think if you start removing these fight nights or, the UFC on Fox and you start consolidating cards and really make them flawless from top to bottom, I think that even with fights dropping off, you could still have cards that are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, for the most part, right, I thought last night's main event was really good. I was watching the card sporadically, but overall, I thought the card underwhelmed. And what did you think, LeRoy?
I didn't hate the card, but from what it was supposed to be, yeah, that was disappointing. And then another mistake they made, okay, not only did they not plan for champion, Amanda Nunes' sickness, but they could have had backups. They should know by now it's a different type of sport. If people get hurt, they're going to pull out. There's not enough money in order to stay in the fight and just fight. So instead of having a backup plan, like Gaehtje wanted to step in, which would have been a better main event, I think, than Nunes versus Shevchenko, which would be Shevchenko versus Gaehtje. They could have had that on deck. They could have had, by now, they should have learned to have alternates.
Now my question is how, what are your thoughts on how they could do that, right? Because I heard about Joanna trying to step in at the last minute and fight, but supposedly she wouldn't be allowed to fight because she wouldn't be medically cleared in that time to fight.
It takes 10 days because all the women have to take pregnancy tests. So they would have had to been working on that ages ago.
So how do you think that the UFC, I mean, if you don't have anything off the top of your head, but just spitballing here, what do you think that Dana, WMG, IME, and the UFC can do as a whole to do something like that, where alternate steps in or some type of way to pivot off a fight if a fight falls through? Because I'm in agreement. It seems like a lot of fights, especially in the sport like the UFC, a lot of fights end up falling through because of injuries, especially last minute. You got long, grueling training camp. Guys,
they should embrace it. They should embrace it. I don't even want to give these ideas away, but fucking they should have paid alternates, man. Somebody's gonna get hurt and fall out, right? So if the shit happens, have some people that are paid to be at the weigh-in, make weight, so that the commission knows that they're there and ready. And if something happens between then and fight time, you got a replacement.
But my I guess I'm sorry to keep to possibly beat a dead horse, but what do you think? Right, I mean, if I'm a fighter, let's say I'm I'm a championship fighter, right? Let's say I'm Cody Garbrandt, and I'm preparing for TJ Dillashaw. And I know Cody was the one who pulled out, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, TJ's the one who pulls out, right? How do I feel as a championship fighter? We're preparing for one style of opponent and then someone else steps in. So let's say, someone else with a completely different style than TJ steps in. And I've been prepping for my whole camp is dedicated to prepping for TJ's style.
Well, you let the guy know who the alternates are, and then you come to an agreement with him beforehand. Well, if he drops out, what about this guy? Would you fight this replacement? And here he is, so you can study him just in case and be aware. So, yeah, all you got to do, and then with the lower level fighters, it really doesn't matter because they're going to take the fight. And now on the championship level, there's a lot to lose. But just make sure that the money is right. People got enough notice. They know what's going on. And try and make sure that your events get saved, I think that's you can work all these variables out beforehand. And if somebody then didn't want to go with the backup plans, then I guess you got a problem. But you got to be thinking ahead. That's what they're not doing. Not only are they not thinking ahead as far as like replacements, and they're coming up with all these short notice fights, man. I mean, like Cody Stamen and Terrion Ware fought on about 10 days notice. Trevin Giles and James Bogdanovich fought on about a week's notice or something like that. Like, this is ridiculous, man. You can't be informing people 2 weeks before the damn fight happens. Oh, I want you to come and fight on the UFC card and make your debut. As a matter of fact, I mean, James, well, it's maybe just because he sucked, but James Bogdanovich, or James Garbage, God, he was terrible. And I had so much of him on DraftKings. That's why I'm mad at him. But, man, he got completely stretched out cold. They had to take him out on a stretcher. That was scary. I don't think that was necessarily because of short notice, though. I think that's because he sucked. But, man, was that terrible. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of the I didn't see the fight. I wasn't able to catch it. I wasn't at home yet. But I saw the pictures. Supposedly, I guess he was getting ground and pounded, right? And I think he was supposedly already out before, it's supposedly he was out and he still got hit a few more times when he was out. I heard he was motionless and they had to come in and stretch him out.
He twitched a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible, man. It's brutal. Oh, man. That's one of the most brutal freaking finishes I've seen. I haven't seen one of those since like UFC 2 with like Pat Smith elbowed ninjutsu practitioner. I forget what his name is. Just brutal elbows to the head. But yeah, man, WME-IMG doesn't know what the hell they're doing. And Dana White he's probably just saying yes. I don't think he really
Less
cares.
quantity, more quality.
I don't think it's even about the quality. I think that you don't need more quality. I think that, they're just sloppy. They act like they're not fight promoters because I guess they're not. And that's a bad deal when you get somebody that doesn't really know. It's like Ted Turner syndrome, Like he really didn't know the pro wrestling business, and he had all the money to buy all the talent, but none of the know-how to showcase it in the right ways and organize the events, Vince McMahon didn't have the talent or the money, but he had the know-how, and he made do and outdid him. So that's what's going to end up happening to the UFC, man, is they're going to continuously create a bad atmosphere, and the fighters are going to they're going to say, well, you know what? I'd rather be a part of what's coming up than what's going down. And this $4 billion investment is going to come to ruins. It's absolutely, everything they're doing is irresponsible. I mean, one thing I do like, though, I like the Snoop Dogg play-by-play. What are they calling Snoop Dogg's play-by-play? Is it like Snoop?
I think it's a Snoopcast.
Yeah,
along those lines.
I like Snoopcast, and I would like to have, alternate commentary from all kinds of people where, you know what, fuck it, that's my idea. But anyway, I love Snoopcast, and I think it's an awesome idea. I think it could even be expanded upon. I like that. That's creative. It's interesting, and I think it's got a great potential. But that's like the only thing they're doing right is fucking Snoopcast. Everything else is a mess. And Snoopcast is not going They're missing out on the young talent. They're not dominating like they should for having bought a basic monopoly. You know, WME-IMG is collapsing, or the UFC is collapsing, and it's going down WCW road, man.
The question is, the question is who catches up. If Bellator catches up and then, has the ability to buy them out or do something, or, take a lot of their talent like they kind of are. It seems like they're just taking all their old throwaways. But, I'm in agreement. And this goes back to, the first episode. We talked about it. And the Fertittas were basically the Vince McMahon of MMA, and kind of built up what they had with nothing. And they found some suckers to take it off their hand. But besides that, I think I'm going to disagree with you on the whole Snoopcast thing. I think Snoopcast is more of them going to making this look like it just, for like I said, is for the cat. Like I continue to kind of repeat on a weekly basis, is they're going the road of, if I'm a casual fan and I'm watching this, I'm thinking that this is, I guess, the word for it in wrestling, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lara, is kayfabe, right? Where you kind of you're selling like a story. It just looks like it's not real, it's not genuine. I think that's the thing, in my opinion, that makes Bellator inferior product. Isn't just the fighters. It's just I like the amount of kind of creative freedom they give their fighters to kind of come out and come out to their kind of entrances themselves, but it's still
have
like
personality and individuality outside of just being a fighter and coming out.
Yeah, but it looks a little cheesy. Like I like the boxing promoters, the boxing entrances, and I wish there was maybe another way to like, I don't have any ideas off the top of my head. I wish there was something that would give these fighters a little bit more personality or a little bit more swagger in the UFC. But at the same time, it's like when you watch on Bellator, for me at least, my opinion, it just looks so cheesy. Like I respect them being able to kind of come out and have their own personality and present themselves the way they want to present themselves and sell
they just don't know how to do it. They don't.
The production, yeah.
Have you seen KSW and other organizations? They do entrances and have lots of flash, but it looks what Pride did. It looks better. But it seems like mixed martial arts people don't know how to put on a show, man. Like, they just don't understand showmanship and entertainment, and you got to start to understand that. Like, you're right. It does look cheesy, but it's down the right road. It just needs some polish. A little polish here, a little polish there. They don't have enough creativity with their sets. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not working hard enough on the presentation. You're exactly right. They got the right ideas. They're showcasing the nationalism right, but it needs that veteran polish. That's all.
Something else just came to me. What do you think about what the fighters have been doing this weekend, where and this kind of comes back to you saying fighters or martial artists don't have showmanship or any of that. It seemed like none of these fighters that won or that were impressive shot their shot post fight. They didn't create any other avenues of big money fights or entertaining fights or calling opponents out. Conor McGregor showed everybody how to do it. Conor McGregor showed everybody the roadmap
that's
to make
kind
money.
of insulting to the past, because before Conor McGregor, there was Tito Ortiz, the Huntington Beach bad boy. There was Kazushi Sakuraba. There were so many great showmen in mixed martial arts. So don't say Conor McGregor. He's not the first guy. He's the first guy. He's the best guy in this generation of fighters.
I don't disagree. I'm not. You're 100% right. There's definitely plenty of showmen, right, prior to Conor. But there was
Chemo Leopoldo. You remember Chemo?
Yep.
He used to come out with the cross. Like, I watched UFC 3, and it was much more spectacular than now. It was so much more interesting because the entrances, you never knew what you'd get with those. You had the Grace. Now, think about this. UFC 1, 2, and 3. You had the Gracie train. You had Chemo with the cross. You had Ken Shamrock's robe. everybody had a little different flair to their entrance. Some people, the karate guy would come out in his gi. Like everybody had a little different of a thing. Just like Akiyama with his interests is like people don't have. Everybody just does the same shit. They walk out, they come out, you show their name, and then they go fight. And that's just not it, man. If you want the big money, you gotta be entertaining. Entertainment is what makes the big money. You can't just be a fighter, And they don't understand that. Martial artists just do not get that.
And I don't disagree with that, right? That the point I was just trying to say is that I feel like Conor showed he basically laid out the roadmap on how to, I would say, somewhat self-promote. I'm not gonna say he's the first one, but to do it. But the way he was basically able to build up, like basically he was able to market and promote himself and build himself up to the point where he's got this fight with Floyd, right? I don't feel like fighters are taking advantage of that. This past weekend, they're like Gaehtje dismantles Michael Johnson, right, on the Tough 25 finale, and he could call out damn near any fighter he wants. He could call out Tony Ferguson, Nate Diaz, and he just goes, who are you going to put in front of me? And that seemed to be, the tone that resonated across Twitter is that all these fighters that were impressive this past weekend didn't shoot their shot post-fight. That didn't call anybody out. Didn't try
I like
shoot
Justin Gaehtje, man. He was talking shit. He was right. I like that. He did. He's I'm shocked that he kept his consciousness. That's one thing I'm shocked at. I don't know how he did it because he was done in the first and then he was done in the second and he stuck. I don't know. That dude's way more durable than I thought you could be. Because Dustin Poirier got put, but Dustin Poirier is pretty fragile, I guess. But nonetheless, I like Justin Gaehtje. Justin Gaehtje had the perfect performance. He post-fight everything. But these guys got to stop trying to be somebody else and be themselves and make their own mark. And that's what a star is, You don't see stars trying to shine like other stars. They just are what they are. So everybody's trying to, and this is one thing that pisses me off about martial artists is they want the attention, but they don't want to run their miles. And then their managers tell them not to. It's like they don't understand what this is. If you're not talking, if you're not socializing, then you're not connecting, right? It doesn't matter if you're loved or you're hated, if you're polarizing or not. You got to be connecting. You got to be unique. One thing that I said, Tito Ortiz was way more even creative than Conor McGregor. Remember, he had his post-fight T-shirt after he win. I just whipped Ken Shamrock's ass or something like that would be on his shirt. Like, he would do that for every opponent, and it'd be so humiliating. But, it was a gimmick that you watch the fight just to see what T-shirt he's going to wear after the fight, after he got done winning. These guys, but talking to them, they just be very careful and about what they say. They won't give their opinion, and that's important because it seems like they're trying to make friends with fans rather than make money with them. You know what I'm saying? By entertaining them.
Yeah, that's true, and I mean that kind of shows too that this was the past the last Bellator pay-per-view they just had, where I heard they were booing Tito in the stands. Like, he doesn't mind being the heel. He doesn't mind being hated or loved.
Who cares? Guess what they did, though? They paid that ticket to boo him. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's not about being friends with the fans. It's about engagement and whether they love you or they hate you. All it's about is the fact that they'll pay to see you. And people, the managers, like, I remember I had posted a small comment on a fighter's page. He was fighting another fighter who had let's say a questionable past, criminal type past. And I made a comment and he calls me up and like, why would you say that on my page? I'm like, what? I'm like, everybody knows this dude did this and everything like this. And instead of using this as fight hype and egging it on, like the manager and the promoter was discouraging it. And it's like, what are you doing? You got something that even a regular person could get an interest in here, and you don't want to put it out there. Like, these guys, they don't want to make money because they don't want no controversy. They just, what do you want then? You can't make everybody happy. As a matter of fact, you can do perfectly good and everybody won't be happy. But you got to make the money, man. If there's no controversy, then or no conflict, and you're selling fights, right? It's all about conflict. If there's no legitimate emotion, then there ain't going to be no money. You know what I'm saying? And martial artists just think about things from a perspective of martial arts, and that's something that's got to change. You got anything else to say on this, Mike? I mean, Dave?
Nope, nothing else said. I think you hit it on the head, and I agree.
Yeah, man,
Controversy sells, right?
They just gotta get into making the money, man. Get on Twitter, engage. Look at Chase Sherman out here engaging with people, talking to people, doing this, doing that, giving stuff away, touch people. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do this stuff, man. Like, you can't just be a fighter and perform. You gotta you gotta leave an imprint in our minds. But before we do anything else, Dave, let's get into this Aiemann Zahabi interview I got on deck right now. Aiemann Zahabi, I promised it to you, from TriStar Gym, one of the instructors. He sat down with me. We talked about his life, career, how he got where he got, favorite food, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's get into that interview right now. Aiemann Zahabi, welcome to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. We are so honored to have you. For all of our listeners, the Zahabi name might sound very familiar to you. That's because Aiemann Zahabi is the younger brother of Firas Zahabi, notable face of TriStar Gym in Canada. But Aiemann, I believe, is the only one to have yet stepped in the cage for official combat. Aiemann, am I right?
That's right, man. The first one in the family to go to the UFC.
Okay,
well, to fight in the octagon.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. Why is that? Because Firas is very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and martial arts overall. Why hadn't he stepped in the cage? And you being the younger guy at this point, what's the deal with that? And then tell us a little bit of how you got into mixed martial arts and why you decided to fight and not just to focus on training fighters. Because if people don't know, Aiemann Zahabi is one of the instructors at TriStar Gym up in Toronto.
Montreal.
Oh, it's not in Toronto. It's in Montreal.
No, it's not Toronto. My other brother has a gym in Toronto, though.
Okay. So there is a TriStar Gym in Toronto. So I'm not crazy.
Gym in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not crazy. All right, I'm not losing my mind here. It's two Zahabis. There's two TriStar gyms.
It's like right outside Toronto and then one in Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah, so Frost did end up fighting because when he was coming up the ranks, like he was like an amateur champion in Muay Thai, amateur champion in grappling, amateur champion in MMA and all those things. But by the time it was about for his turn to go pro, his coach, who was the head coach of TriStar MMA back then,
who was that?
It was Angelo Exarchakis, a Greek guy, and he had a huge business opportunity, and his company had just blown up at the time, so he couldn't run the pro practices anymore, and he had to put someone in his place to help the guys like George St. Pierre, David Loiseau, the top fighters in the pros at that time. So the most reliable guy, most skillful guy at the time who wasn't a pro was my brother, was Firas. So Firas ended up taking a coaching role to help out the original coach so that he can do his business and like still help train the guys like George St. Pierre and David Loiseau, Thierry Canville, the old school guys. Part-time, while Firas helped pick up the slack here at the gym. So Firas kind of took a coaching role on early. And then there were so many guys, pros at TriStar, that when the other coach ended up leaving for his job, Firas ended up just taking over as the head coach. So Firas never really got the chance. He ended up skipping becoming a pro and just ended up taking care of the pros, coaching them and helping them, traveling with them, taking care of their training instead of him training for a fight. He never had a chance to fight.
Okay, all right, I understand that perfectly. And you're just 29 years old. You're a youngster, haven't even reached your athletic prime yet, and just had your first UFC fight about was that four months ago now against Reginaldo Vieira. A very impressive performance. I had you on all my DraftKings teams. Didn't get the knockout like I wanted, but
I know too. It came close, man.
I know. I was kind of mad at Aiemann Zahabi because I was like, you almost had it in the first round, and then you didn't finish it. But it didn't. Let me see here. It was it a decision? Yeah, it was a unanimous decision. But yeah, man, how did you feel about your first performance?
I
Did you
give myself like a 7 on 10.
7 on 10? And why is that?
Well, normal, me, I like, I'm a hunter, you know, like when a guy makes a mistake, I go for it. But for this fight, I was like, man, it's my first one in the UFC. I don't want to lose just because of my mistake. So I'm like, I made the guy miss. I was like, oh, I'll get him on the next one. Then I made him miss again. I was like, I'll get him on the next one. Then I kind of
So
I
you
fell
were
into that.
so you were pulling short on your counters because of the old UFC jitters, eh?
Yeah. You know, I didn't feel too much jitters except for once I was in there. Like, I didn't feel anything till I stepped in there. Then I was like, oh, you know what? There is a little jitters.
All right.
As the
Okay.
fight went on, I got more comfortable. Then in the second round, that's when I almost got the KO. And then in round 3, I got poked in the eye, and I couldn't see anything in round 3. So I was like, man, I got to get really close. And I took the most shots in round 3 just because I couldn't tell the depth of where he was anymore. But then I finished the round 3 strong, almost finished him at the end of the third, too. Ah, man, I came close a few times.
The old eye poke. I heard your brother talking about eye pokes and how disastrous that those can be during the duration of a fight. I mean, they absolutely destroy your depth perception, and I think they have a couple other effects. Could you get into what when an eye poke occurs? What could be the worst case scenarios for how that affects you as a fighter?
Well, definitely the depth, because you can't, if you don't see the punch or you can't tell when it's coming, it hurts more. It hurts a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
But another effect is like, me, it's the first time I ever got poked during a fight. So I kind of like had to come up with an idea of how to deal with it. So like there was like a good few seconds. It felt like an eternity, but it was only like when I rewatched the fight, it was only a couple of seconds. And I was like, what should I do? What's the game plan now that I can't see how far he is? What I came up with was just try to stay as close to him as possible. Eat the shots, but stay close and try to get off when he gets off, you know?
I see, and that's great to know because I know, I know I'm a nerd, but a lot, and this isn't even my DraftKings show, but a lot of people picked you and and they were disappointed you didn't finish. They'll know why now, and we'll know to be all over you. Now, are you still a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or have you gotten to the black belt level, if that even matters? But what is your ranking in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as you are a very high level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner and an instructor at TriStar Gym? I thought it was weird to see you listed as a brown belt and be an instructor.
Yeah, no, I'm a brown belt still. Like, for us, doesn't give out brown belts. Black belts easily. I think it's only given out one so far.
Damn,
So,
to who?
To Ivan Menjivar.
Menjivar. So Georgia St. Pierre doesn't even have a black belt in Brazil.
George has one, but he got it from Bruno Fernandez.
Oh, so he doesn't have for us a hobby black belt. Damn, Jesus!
No,
like, what do you have to do to become a black belt up there at TriStar?
Man, it ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. But
like,
it's good.
I mean,
It won't be a fake black belt, that's for sure.
All right, I get you, man. So if Georgia St. Pierre doesn't have one, that shit must be serious as hell. I mean, do you have a fight coming up? Because I'm looking on your profile. It's been 4 months. You don't have any fights scheduled. What's your fight outlook looking like in the future? I know you might not be able to tell us exactly, but do you feel like something's close to being signed?
I hope something's close because after my fight in February, they asked me if I would fight in the summer and then again in the winter. So I said yes. So I should be getting a call like in the next couple of weeks or so.
And
probably August or something.
I've talked to some other UFC fighters, and they've been telling me that they've been getting fight proposals on like 2 to 4 weeks notice sometimes. So if you get one of those, WME-IMG is not doing the same things as Dana White and the Fertittas did it, I guess, because they're not real fight business people. But if you get one of those short notice proposals, would you be willing to take it? And are you in shape?
I'm in shape now. I'm really in shape now. Like I don't know about 2 weeks because it depends on the opponent too. But and the weight cut. Like my weight's pretty good right now. Like I would be able to take like 3 or 4 weeks now. But like 2 weeks, it'd be brutal.
What would you prefer? Would it be 6 to 8 weeks or what?
4 weeks is great. The best is 6 weeks.
6 weeks, okay. That's so you don't need an 8 week camp.
If they can do that, that's perfect.
All right, that's awesome. Now, you being an instructor and a pro fighter at the same time, during your fight camps, give us the typical day for Aiemann Zahabi. What does that go like? I know you guys, like most gyms, spar on Friday or Saturday. So give us a typical day throughout the week, and then on a sparring day as an instructor on top of that. What is your schedule like?
Well, every day I train twice, but like I do it in phases too. So like right now I'm focusing a little bit more on boxing, whereas the last couple of months I was doing more grappling. So now I will do like every day I do a striking class. Every day like I do striking practice, and
Is
then
it with other pros or with everybody?
yeah. So it depends. Like some of the days I'll do my striking practice with just a private like one-on-one with a striking coach, and the other days I'll do with so 3 times a week I'll do by myself and 2 times a week with the team. And then, but every night I grapple with the team. Every night I do like wrestling or jiu-jitsu.
Okay, and this is in a pro practice or just
Yeah, the jiu-jitsu is always pro. It's always in the class. It's always in the class with the guys. Like jiu-jitsu, I don't ever do privates really. Just I just train. We all train together for that for grappling.
Oh, so you guys don't have any amateurs training at TriStar then?
Yeah. We have more amateurs than pros. We have so many amateurs.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so you just train always pro. All right. And I've got some questions from my co-hosts who weren't able to make it in tonight. We taped an episode last night, but they Mike, my co-instructor at the School of Black Negro Jitsu, he said, have you observed any heat taken by TriStar fighters for taking a more conservative approach? General population has noticed from a DraftKings perspective, they haven't gone for finishes and aren't as reckless as fighters from other camps. More calculated. Look at Vitor. There are many other examples. How do you feel about the heat that TriStar takes for fighters being conservative, boring? That was a big criticism for Georgia St. Pierre. Or do you just feel like you guys are fighting intelligent, well planned out game plans?
What I feel is most TriStar fighters don't have brain damage.
Okay, that's a good point.
Don't end up in the hospital too often. Most TriStar fighters, they win. They win. We're all trying to finish. But you don't want to finish with luck either. You know what I mean? You're not trying to go in there and be reckless. And I get it. Like people want to see people push the pace. Like I find like in my last fight, I didn't get the finish, but man, I was looking for the finish hard. Like I was trying to hunt him down. I was throwing heavy punches. I didn't let him take me down for nothing. And I tried to keep it on the feet and keep it exchanging, keep it boxing. He got wobbled more. I didn't get wobbled once. He got wobbled every round. So like, it's not that we don't want to finish. We're all trying to finish, but we're trying to finish, with calculations. And also, I want to fight for a long time. I'm not trying to fight for 5 years. I'm trying to fight for 10, 12 years.
Okay.
Vitor, I know people like they think, like now he won a decision was for us. But the guy has been fighting in the UFC and in the professional MMA for 20 years. Right. He almost never wins a decision.
Almost never. If he wasn't winning in the first round, he wasn't winning at all. So it's a welcome change.
He's won a few, But, like, there's nothing wrong with him not getting punched. And there's nothing wrong with him. Because, like, people, they weren't so happy with that fight. But how often did Marquardt rock Vitor in that fight?
None. He didn't hit. He wouldn't.
There were 2 occasions, once in round 2 and once in round 3, where Vitor almost finished the fight. So it's like, yeah, he didn't take as much damage as normal, but he's still closer to finishing the fight than the other guy.
And that's important at this point in his career where his durability is much diminished. Next question from my co-instructor, Mike, was, have you found it challenging to meet expectations training under your world-renowned brother?
No, man. This is the first fight I didn't exceed expectations. This is the first time. Every other fight I exceeded them, and just this one it has. One thing I did that was really smart is after the fight I watched like McGregor's debut, I watched Sergio Pettis' UFC debut, I watched like a bunch of different guys' UFC debut, and not everyone, knocks the guy out in the first round, easily with like a spin back kick or something crazy,
Right.
Look, people have rough UFC debuts, and it's because it's a different environment. You're going into the UFC for the first time. Like I've been cornering guys in the UFC forever, since I was 20. So like I've done the fight week so many times. Like that's why I was telling you, I didn't get nervous till I stepped in the octagon. Then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I come out of here looking good and take care of myself and make sure things go well. But I learned a lot, and also one thing that happened to me in the fight was, I knew the guy was very durable going into the fight. I knew he had 20 fights, and if I would have rocked him, he'd be able to come back. And because I've never been to the third round, like me, I work with George Lockhart as my nutritionist, and like I think this guy is the best in the business.
Okay.
I know he gets me to my weight, but I've never had to go the distance, so I wasn't sure how well the rehydration plan was. You know what I mean? Like I never put it to the test for myself. Like he's worked with McGregor, he's worked with like so many high-profile UFC fighters, and it's worked wonders with them. But now I know that in round 3 I can still be in the cage. I'm smiling, I'm having fun. I can still push the pace. I can still rock somebody.
So you were kind of unsure about yourself past the first round because you hadn't been there.
I've never been there, man. It's fighters are more worried about what they don't know than what they know. You know what I'm saying? So like
that is a legitimate concern. If I didn't know that, I thought when people said that, well, he's never been out of the first round, I'd be like, well, he's training hard, he shouldn't be fine. But you actually are concerned about that at times.
Yeah, because like fighting and training are two different things. Like I don't care who you are in the gym, it doesn't matter until you get in the octagon and fight. You know what I mean? Like I don't care if you're the biggest superstar in whatever gym, even if it's if you're the biggest superstar in Albuquerque, New Mexico, you're training at Greg Jackson's. It's not about who's the best in the gym. It's about who's the best fight night.
Okay, now my co-instructor Dave, he's got a question for you that ties right into this, and I don't even know if you can answer it because I mean, how could you without seeming like a dickhead? But who is the best gym fighter? Just outright making fighters look okay. Well, you can answer this. Making fighters look silly in the ring that you've seen that just hadn't been able to make the transition to the ring. If you can even answer that, I don't even know if you can.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, man.
That's what I'm saying.
It definitely happens. But there's 3 types of guys. There's the guys who fight less than they are in the gym. There's guys who fight better in the octagon than they do in the gym, and then there's guys who are exactly the same in both cases. But it sucks for the guys who don't do as good in the octagon than they do in the gym because they work hard. A lot of those guys work really hard to be good, but mentally they don't have it.
Okay, so since you can't throw anybody under the bus, do this for me. What's the percentage of those 3 you think? The guys that fight best in the gym, fight better in the fight, or just stay the same? What are the percent breakdowns of fighters, at least that's out of TriStar? What is that percentage looking like?
I would say the top 3% fight better in the octagon.
The top 3%, okay.
Yeah. And then the majority of guys are the same. Like I would put 80% of the guys fight in the cage like they do in the training. Mm-hmm. And then 10% fight below.
Okay, and why do you think the guys that fight below do? What is it? Is it nerves?
I have no idea. It's mental. It has nothing to do with their physical ability, their training, their coaches. It just has to do with the way they perceive what's happening in the cage, right? Because we all perceive things differently. You know what I mean? Like the way I handle my stress is different than the way you would handle your stress. Or, the lights, they burn people different.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Now, were you born in Quebec or where are you guys from? I forget y'all background story.
I'm born in the province of Quebec. I'm born right outside of Montreal, like a place called Laval. It's like 10-15 minutes from Montreal.
Et donc, tu parles le français, correct?
Oui, je parle le français, oui. Le français.
Et je parle le français aussi. J'ai commencé d'apprendre le français il y a 3 ans maintenant. Et maintenant, je pense que je vais très bien au français. Je préviens d'aller à Quebec ou la France très bientôt. But back to English. I rarely get a chance to speak French with anybody. But
if you definitely come to Montreal, come interview people here, man.
I'm planning on that. I've been trying to get a hold of. I'll ask you after we get done with this who are the French speaking fighters there. But I've been trying to use my French to do an interview with somebody. But I don't run across many fighters. But coming from Quebec, what are your favorite foods? Like, what's your favorite thing to get from Quebec? And then what's your favorite thing? Because you've traveled all around the world doing different fight weeks. What's your favorite food that you can't get in Quebec?
The best food in the world is from Thailand. I spent 5 weeks in Thailand, and there's no food better.
Okay, and what do they have there?
The street food And my favorite thing that I had there it's called larp, chicken larp.
Okay.
You have to Google it. It is delicious. It's like this chicken mincemeat, and sometimes they serve it on a salad. But I was getting it on rice, and it's very, very good. Spicy. It's delicious, and they're cheap. It costs like a dollar Canadian, so probably even cheap, 70 cents American.
Really? And it's a nice size portion too?
A nice size portion. You'd be more than happy.
Okay, and what's this poutine craze? I've been hearing about this stuff, and I feel like I just want to fly to Quebec just to get some poutine.
Yeah, poutine's great, man. It's just fries with gravy and cheese curds.
Okay.
But the combination together, it tastes a lot better than it sounds.
Okay, all right. And okay, so that's your favorite worldwide food in the United States. I know. Have you done any cornering down south or in the Midwest?
I've only been to South Carolina, but I didn't really get to like taste a lot of the food there. Like I just, I stayed at Wonder Boy's house and I ate like just like the local stuff around there. Like I didn't really get to taste Southern cuisine very much.
Okay. Because I'm from Missouri, which is, I think, according to the Missouri Compromise, the Southern state. So I was just wondering, but what's your favorite United States food, like that you've gotten? New York pizza or anything that you just gotta have when you go to New York or Las Vegas or somewhere like that?
I go to New York. My favorite place to go to is Shake Shack. I love Shake Shack.
You know what? My co-hosts are from New York, and they told me about this Shake Shack place and say it is the shit, and so it is.
Yeah, it's very good, very good. And there's an Italian place too. I forget what it's called, but they serve like only family-sized portions.
Italian place. You have to add. I wish they were here. And then we can.
I think it's called Carmichael.
Carmichael's. Okay. All right, Carmichael's.
Carmichael.
And are you married, Aiemann Zahabi?
Yes. I got married there recently.
Oh, well, that ruins my next question. I was gonna ask you who is your crush out here right now, but yeah. So you're already married. Do you have any kids?
No kids yet.
No kids.
I'm gonna try to get her pregnant by December.
How long have you been working on this?
I haven't started working on it yet. I want to get one more fight in, and make sure get my paper right, and then start making babies.
That's all. And when did you get you? So you must have just got married. When did you get married?
A month ago.
Oh, a month ago. Okay.
Almost 2 months ago.
And did you ever go to college, or have you just been all fighting?
No, I went to university, but I dropped out for fighting.
Okay, all right,
yeah,
that's what's up. That's what's up. And your favorite sport outside of fighting? Do you like anything else? You like the CFL? You like soccer? What do you like to do? Because I know you probably hate to watch fights in your free time. When I was playing college football, I hated to watch football games in my free time. What do you like to watch in your free time?
I like the Oakland Raiders, man. I was a big fan of them in high school. And when I was in high school, they were great. They had Rich Gannon, and they made it to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Buccaneers, man. It crushed me. And then
I'm 30, so I remember that Super Bowl against the Buccaneers.
Yeah. And when the year before that, they got screwed by the Patriots. That was nuts.
Yes, that's what started Tom Brady's career, as a matter of fact. So we sound like a bunch of old guys right now.
Yeah. And terrible quarterback after terrible quarterback for years, and then finally we get Derek Carr, but then he gets injured. Man, he was doing great during the season.
So you must have loved Randy Moss in the Raiders jersey, then, huh?
Yeah, I like Randy Moss, but then I met him one time, and then it kind of turned me off, man. Like, I saw him at like an MMA thing.
Oh, really?
And I was like at a booth. I was signing autographs, signing out magazines for like this MMA magazine company back in the day. I think it was called Authority MMA. So I was in the booth, whatever, talking to people, and then Randy Moss comes into like the expo, and then I'm like, "Oh, Randy, I'm a huge Raiders fan. Can I get a picture?" This is during the time he was one of the Raiders,
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Make it quick." And I was like, "It's all good. I don't want it." I make it quick. Okay, I don't need it. I don't need it. I was just,
Okay, so I was running out of questions. I got another one for you. Who is the nicest celebrity that you've met, and maybe the meanest, outside of Randy Moss?
I don't know if Randy Moss is mean. I just didn't like the way he said it to me at that time. Maybe he's a super nice guy. I don't know. But the greatest, the nicest, sweetest celebrity you ever meet is GSP. There's nobody sweeter.
GSP doesn't count. No. This doesn't count. God. You must think of a non-biased celebrity. I know GSP is y'all favorite celebrity up in Canada.
You know who's pretty sweet is Van Damme. Van Damme was really sweet.
Really? So Jean-Claude Van Damme or
Yeah,
Rob
he
Van
was
Damme?
very nice.
Okay,
No,
all right.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude.
All right, and the biggest dickhead you've ran across or a guy that blew you off? I remember I was looking for wrestlers' autographs, and Triple H and then blew me off for one after
Okay.
the first Hell in a Cell, yeah. But what about you? Any bad, outside of Randy Moss, any bad experiences with celebrities?
No. Other than Randy Moss, the Randy Moss was my worst one. But other than that, no, I've never been snubbed.
Okay, all right, Amin. That was an excellent interview. Thank you for coming to the School of Black Negro Jitsu today.
My
If
pleasure.
you got any plugs right now, just go ahead and shout those out.
No, it's all good. I'm good. Thank you.
All right, and yeah, we're done. Thanks a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed that. But on we move. On the topic of mismanagement, let's go into declining fighters. One thing the UFC, I think, when they made that $4 billion purchase was they didn't realize is that if they're not they needed to really crush all the competition, or all the competition needed to be crushed before you would purchase something like it's a juggernaut, and you still have competitors that are living out there. And this is dangerous because your top stars only have a shelf life of so many, maybe months, maybe years. Okay, you know, the pinnacle of a top fighter's career is only so long. Anthony Pettis is an awesome example of this. At one time, one of the greatest young superstar in the sport on the Wheaties box. Just a spectacular talent. Now though, he's lost 3 out of his last 5 fights, or 4 out of his last 6. How far from grace that he has fallen in these last couple. And it's not because he sucks. It's just the champion's plight, in that everybody sees you fight a bunch of times. They start to analyze you. They start to break you down and target you. This is what's happened to Anthony Pettis. It happens to every champion. The more people see you, the more they prepare for it, okay? But what the UFC is not doing is it's not cornering the market on young talent. It's allowing some of its peaking stars or peaking older talent to flee, like Gegard Mousasi and Lorenz Larkin, exciting fighters with plenty more years left on them. They're allowing these guys to escape and go to other promotions and possibly become stars there. I mean, you putting on the same show. It's all about the product in the ring, and this is why the organization is declining. This is very irresponsible by them. They're not snatching up all the young talent, and some of the young up and comers are escaping. And that's not good. Now, Bellator mishandled kind of Lorenz Larkin. I think maybe, he didn't fight bad, but maybe they should have gave him some warm-up, tune-up fights before they gave him a title fight in order to establish his dominance and supremacy. That would have been a better investment. They throw him right into the title fight, so UFC kind of won there. But letting Matt Mitrione go, these guys with even considerable fan bases, people will tune in just to see them. And then they've got some promising young up-and-comers, and I see the competition. What do you think about WME-IMG's failure to corner the market and allowing up-and-coming superstars to escape, and and some of your not washed up, still climbing, promising, prime guys to escape, like Lorenz Larkin? Looks like Gegard Mousasi might be gone, and Phil Davis is gone. The pieces of Bellator are coming together. They've got guys that have 3 or 4 more years left in them, and you've got guys that's contracts are running out, and they're not happy with how things are. What do you think of this, Dave?
So, Laura, I want to see, right? Well, first and foremost, I want to see the long-term perspective. Like, I want to I can't tell the future, right? And I want to be able to look back on this in a few years and see the direction that basically the ascension that Bellator is making, in comparison to UFC. And what I mean by that is, I think Scott Coker, it seems funky now, right? I don't know what he's doing yet. I don't know what his long-term plans are. I don't know the inner workings of Bellator, as, none of us probably do. But the one thing he was really, really good at with Strikeforce was finding young untapped talent. For example, Daniel Cormier. They had Ronda Rousey. Before they got absolved by the UFC. That's what kept them competitive with the UFC. I felt like for so long is that Scott Coker was really, really good at, I think, evaluating and finding young rising talent. They've got two fairly exciting guys that I can think of off the top of my head, right? One being Michael Venom Page, and the other being Aaron Pico, who just lost, right? But those are two guys that I feel like some of the MMA community is talking about, and some guys that could really, eventually turn into household names. I don't know what they're doing by signing some of the UFC throwaway, some of the older guys, but I mean, I guess, with that there comes some
Wait a minute, by
name
throwaways,
recognition.
who do you mean?
I mean, they're not in the plight of their careers, but like, look at, and they sell, so this is where it's gonna get funky, but right, like a guy like Wanderlei is a somewhat household name, but these are guys that like Chael Sonnen, like they've got names, and Chael's good on the mic, and casual fans will recognize those names, but I don't think those are guys that you're going to build. That might get some people in the seats, short term. But long term, you're going to have to build your brand based off of young up and comers. So I don't know what Coker's end game is. It might just be to put, fans in seats, to have viewership rise, right, by casuals recognizing, these certain type of names. But I don't see. And the thing is that I don't, like, with the exception of maybe, and this is, and if you think of anything, just spit it out. But with the exception of maybe the recent signing of Gaehtje, right? Going back to Gaehtje, there's not, like, are there any prospects you could think of off the top of your head that really get you excited about the UFC, right? Like
Gokhan Saki.
Yeah, he's that's one guy that they took from they signed from Glory as a prominent kickboxer who might be exciting to watch as well, or is going to be exciting to watch. But I think that they're not handling their youth pipeline correctly, or they're not using a youth pipeline correctly, and I guess maybe in my older age I'm just getting repetitive, but another example was Yair Rodriguez that I spoke about, on one of the prior podcasts, is that they had this young, up-and-coming, somewhat exciting fighter who wasn't fully developed, who honestly didn't know how to put combos together. He strings punches along and kicks. It's like one punch, one kick. There's no combos that he threw. And they threw him in the Lions Den and fed him right to Frankie Edgar. I mean, if anything, MMA is one sport where you could really bounce back off one loss or even multiple losses. But I think they've got to do a better job developing their youth. I'm not so worried about them letting guys, like, let's say, if Jagard walks, I'm not too upset about that, because they've already got a stack. That's already a stacked division, right? With Rockhold, with Weidman, with Romero, with Whitaker winning last night, Bisping currently holding the title, right, and Whitaker holding the interim.
But that's something to build. Something is a building block, and the UFC is allowing people to decline and go away, and they're not in the business, never have been, of building prospects. Never have been. They won't give a prospect a smash fight, bring in somebody who probably is going to lose. All right, that's irresponsible promoting, because they don't develop the youth. They bring in these talented guys, right? And if you don't beat these tough competitors in like 2 fights, you get cut from the roster. Well, they're taking these talented guys and they get 2 bad fights and they go somewhere else, right? Well, if properly managed and developed, a lot of these young prospects, Magomed, not Magomed Mustafayev, but Albert Tumanov and guys like this, these dudes have worlds of talent and they're super young. And the UFC is letting them go. And those are pieces of the puzzle for another organization to come and use that exposure that the UFC gave that person and build off of. And they not developing anybody young. And as we saw with the fight card last night, there are so many dumb fighters. Like, let me hold on. Let me look at this card from last night and count the dumb fighters. Let's talk about declining fighters. This is what's really disturbing me at this point. Travis Brown is
Jordan Mean.
He is fucking done, okay? He's fucking done. He needs to hang it up. Jordan Mean is done. That's not what Jordan Mean used to be. Who is this guy? And these guys have been fighting for so long, like Joe Rogan said, 9 years, and then I guess the body kind of shuts down or whatever. And we're seeing fighters be a shell of them former selves, and they've just been training back-to-back training camps or 2-3 fights a year for the past 9-10 years. They're about done, man. Jim Miller, how many more fights does he have? Okay, Yoel Romero is 40. He's got 2, 3, 4 more fights left. Alistair Overeem and Fabricio Verdum, they won't be around much longer. You know, how many more fights do they have? If Alistair Overeem can't get the title in his next fight, he's probably done. Verdum, a couple more fights, no title, he's done. What else do they have to fight for, okay? Alexio Olenek, he's about done. You know what I'm saying? It's just a roster full of guys that, you know, in 3 or 4 years, what is the UFC going to look like? Who will be the stars? And that's what I'm saying is that they're not cornering the market on young talent. They're not creating a future because the window of success in mixed martial arts is very narrow. You got a fighter, you're going to have him for a few years, and then, let's say, anywhere from 2 to 10 years, and then he's gone, right? So how's your organization going to be dominant past this window? And it looks like the UFC past this window, I don't think they're looking too good, man. People are looking at KSW and Bellator, and the money's getting good, and that's all that matters. And the money's not getting good with the UFC. You know, they're not making millionaires left and right. And I think that's going to hurt them in the long run, man, is that they've got too many guys. It seems like the UFC is all about tearing down. It's not about building up. And it's pretty soon there's not going to be nothing much left. What do you think?
I don't disagree, and I don't know if maybe that's the direction that they're looking with. You know, Dana White's looking for a fight or what they're trying to do. But for the most part, I have to agree. It doesn't look like they're developing any youth. It doesn't look like they're trying to sign young fighters.
And Bellator and KSW and ACB, Absolute Combat Recruit, all these organizations are taking this young talent and they're building not only good products, they're building very regionally strong products where they're cornering the markets in Russia or in Poland with KSW or here in America with Bellator. These are becoming the best breeding grounds for young talent. And the UFC can't let that be because it's too easy. They're unlike boxing where you have one sport full of stars. In mixed martial arts, you have 20 or 30 sports that you can get stars from and develop superstars, you know? It's very easy to build a mid-range mixed martial arts promotion. You just need the money. UFC's got all the money and it seems like none of the brain. And it seems like they're starting their own demise, you know, and it's a lot of it is about the money and the fact that the pot is not getting sweeter in any way, shape, or form. Like, what is the difference between signing with the UFC, Bellator, KSW, Absolute Combat Recruit? I was talking to Leo Kuntz about the organization he fights with now over in Korea. Like, there's a million different options where you can have an awesome career. Why should you go fight somewhere where they don't care about you? They want to use you up, and then, what next? This is not. It's not
Well,
good.
before I think it was you were fighting the top talent in the world, and like you said, instead of building that up, they're tearing that down. So as these guys are on the decline, it's no longer like it's no longer the difference. The difference I feel like between the UFC and Bellator or these other promotions is no longer like the NBA or playing for the ugly stepsister like the D League or the playing overseas where everybody wants to make it to the show, right? I think that like you said is as the talent develops in Bellator, the talent's developing overseas, right? There's no longer going to be that want for guys to fight supposedly against quote unquote the best, right? They're
Yeah,
going to want money, especially when the shelf life is.
Especially because think about this, Golden Boy. What's Floyd Mayweather's promotion name? I forget.
I think it's just Mayweather Promotions. But
Mayweather Promotions.
Or Money. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Mayweather Promotions. I don't think it's TMT. I don't think it's the Money
King.
team.
Nobody in the boxing promotion game signs a fighter and then uses, gives them tough ass fights that they 50-50, They take them, they develop them. Then you get 2 or 3 fights, then you get a tough fight. You get 2 or 3 fights, you get a tough fight. Like the UFC is nothing but tough fights, and that's bad promotion. The UFC is no longer. It has never been a fight promotion. Since the beginning, it's always been tournament style competition, and it's like so many losses and you go home. They're not promoting fighters, and that's not the future of the fight game. Everybody sees what's going on with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was well promoted. He was protected from wrestlers. Because of that, he had some scintillating knockouts. He was able to showcase his best skills. He has an awesome personality and charisma, and now he's a superstar. That's how you promote a fighter. I think it was by chance, but that's a promotion. The UFC is just a fight. Or, it's just a fight showcase. It's not about the fighters. And they're going to get sick of that. And they're going to want to be promoted. They're going to want to be showcased. And they're going to want to road to the money. And right now, that road is grim. Like it's very small chances that you have to make the money. Like you're not climbing a mountain. It's more like you're running through a field of landmines. And only so many people make it through that field, And that's just not fight promotion, man. They have not adapted or not adapting to the future of fighting. And I think that eventually leads to their collapse. What are your feelings on that?
I agree. And I think once again is going back to that point of WME-IMG just overpaying for a product, not putting out as high quality of fights as you possibly can, not developing a talent pipeline that could replace these guys when these guys retire or these guys walk to other organizations. I think you hit the nail on the head as well as, and I don't think I even thought about it like that, is that they aren't building superstars like they can, right? I think case in point is Ronda, right? Like they built her up very well, right? Like Conor. And then when she fought a counter puncher, a counter fighter in Holly Holm and got knocked out, when you had her again, I feel like you could have rebuilt that aura if you gave her kind of squash bouts, right? Girls that she could beat, built her back up. And then, and possibly her striking gets better or whatever. I don't think it would have ever gotten better with Edmund in her corner. But if she ever jumped ship and went to a different, trained elsewhere and rebuilt or built a talent skill set, like legitimate striking, and they rebuilt her, they could have still had something, I think, in Ronda. Who knows how that played out?
They still got something. It's just the fact of the matter.
You think so? After she got
she
smashed
lost,
by
all they
Nunes?
had to do was give her who's somebody that has no grappling. All they had to do is give her. Oh, they could have gave her Juliana. Or too much grappling. They could have gave her Juliana Pena. That's an up and coming rising young superstar. Juliana Pena would have loved the money from the fight and the exposure, and Ronda Rousey would have easily won that in under a minute, and automatically, okay, you get her another win. The general public doesn't know who these girls are. All that they know, Juliana Pena at the time might have even been undefeated, because I think the only loss she's taken is to like Shevchenko, and maybe one
and
other.
there was bad blood there too because of the Ultimate Fighter with Misha Tate and Ronda Rousey, so they could have sold that as well.
Yeah, they could. All they had to do was give her. I think Misha Tate could have beat her though. That might not have been the fight, but they give her Juliana Pena, give her another girl that's nothing but grappling. She's gonna out grapple them. You've got your superstar back. They lost so much money. They could have made millions more dollars, at least 3 or 4 more fights, but they just want to throw her to the lioness, Amanda Nunes, and that's what you get. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just irresponsible fight promotion.
I think they're just very short-sighted. I think that what we've been talking about.
That's not promotion. Promotion is long. You don't see boxers fighting the best constantly because it's not about a sprint. It's about the marathon. You got to understand there's only so much time that you have in this game and only so much time that you have to make money. And only so many opportunities you're going to have to get that big money fight, and losing hurts that. It's hard to sell a loser. So, bad fight. They need to go read a promotion book. Read Don King's book. Read Bob Arum's book and start to use this formula, because this isn't promotion. This is UFC 1 type of spectacle, and it needs to stop. They need to stop just, tournament style booking people. But let's get on to these fighter pullouts and how they affect an organization, fighters. We just saw Amanda Nunes remove her Instagram, which is interesting. I guess she took so much flack from it, she got sick of it, pulled her Instagram down. Dana White looked pissed. The fans were mad. They were looking for refunds because Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko wasn't going to happen. How does this affect all the different sides of the fight game? Fans, promoter, fighter. I definitely think that the promoter probably lost a good clip of money. I don't know if he lost too much pay-per-view money, because who knew? But he definitely lost a good clip of ticket money, and that's where most of the promoters' money comes from. So when I think that Dana said that he would never have Amanda in another main event, it was probably out of being butthurt, because most of his money is coming up from the event sales. And if I'm not mistaken, I think
I read somewhere
a small part of the pay-per-view. What's up?
I read somewhere that I think that Dana actually has to refund, or the UFC has to refund ticket sales because the main event was pulled. I don't know if that's certainly true, but that's, anybody, that's a huge portion. If even half the people want a refund, that's a huge part of the gate that's going back.
You can only get a refund if you didn't attend the event. So if you went to the event, because it says card is subject to change, you're only going to get that refund from Ticketmaster if you didn't attend the event. If you attended, I don't believe you can get a refund. But a lot of people didn't attend because of that said fact. So, Dana knew that girl got sick. I knew. And I was counting on it. I was like, she's going to be sick again. And her fight camp didn't address it. Dana didn't address it. She didn't address it by getting out to Vegas 10 weeks before the fight. I know she loves American Top Team, but Dean Thomas and Mike Brown, they're going to have to move in with her or something. They're going to have to start American Top Team Las Vegas or start having fights in Florida, because she can't travel and fight. This is a thing. But so now the fans are pissed. You know, a bunch of people didn't buy the pay-per-view because of this. A bunch of people gave back their money. And people are starting to sour on the product. This is not good. Not good. The UFC is not... It's not building, man. This is irresponsible. So I think that, people buy fights for fighters and not the organization name. So it didn't hurt the promotion too much, But it definitely hurt that night because they lost a lot of money in tickets. Probably lost some pay-per-view buys. Some, not all. And what else could they have lost? Anything else I'm leaving out?
You might lose future viewership, right? Because of the fact that it seems like...
I doubt it because people buy fights for fighters and not the brand name. Who cares if Golden Boy or whoever is promoting it? Hell, you could have... I don't know. Tyra Banks promote one of these fights. Who cares? John Jones versus Daniel Cormier, people are tuning in to see the talent. They're tuning in to see said person. But, yeah, man, like, I don't think it has too much of an effect past this week. But that's definitely a bad look for that night. They probably lost some, because you're talking about like $1,000 a ticket. I mean, how many tickets do you think they lost last night?
I'm not certain. I was trying to look around trying to Google it and trying to look for some stats on the internet, but I couldn't find much.
Probably a couple thousand people, maybe.
Probably. And then when what's funny is when I actually Googled that, what else came up is supposedly they lost on the subject of to go back to kind of irresponsibility on UFC's part. Supposedly they had to refund ticket sales for 212 as well because Anderson Silva pulled out once Gastelum wasn't cleared by USADA because of the weed smoking incident.
Oh yeah.
So that it seems like this isn't just a rare occurrence. This seems to be a common occurrence. So
they don't plan well enough for it because now they got the USADA testing too. They definitely need alternates because who knows what can happen. And they're consistently losing a fight per week because of USADA testing, weight cuts. They need to start having paid alternates on site that can step in on a moment's notice. And plenty of people would be willing to do it. Everybody wants to fight on the UFC card. So that's Dana White's fault mostly. He's the promoter. He should be he's not taking care of his champion. You know what I'm saying? He knows that girl, what she's struggling with, and she can't help it. So that's on him. But damn, this podcast is so negative. What's going on today? Frank Mir was just granted his release from the UFC. Now I'm no longer officially part of the UFC. This from Bloody Elbow. I finally have my release. It's official. Put a couple little contingencies in there. Basically, because USADA is not able to regulate or has no ability to do anything outside the authority of the UFC, they knew once I was released, technically I could do whatever I want. So part of me not having to drag this battle out was I made a concession that I'll wait till April, which is when the suspicion would have ended, anyway, to start fighting. Basically not give a big fuck you to USADA, I guess. Mir does color commentary for ACB promotion in Russia. Admits he already has a foot in the door there, but insisted that he hadn't come to terms with any promotion to fight as of yet. Oh, man, it would be a good idea. Well, ACB, that's a great gift for them. Bellator would be, they could put on some good fights for him there. But Frank Mir's got a little bit of gas left in the tank. He would be a good lamb to throw to the slaughter for somebody. Or a good guy to come in and tap somebody out like Matt Mitrione. I don't know, but what do you think of this? This is another bad thing for UFC. Not good.
I think he's a good, and goes back to that short-sighted, conversation we had. That it's a good thing for any other promotion like ACB or Bellator to get a guy like that who could put some, some fans in seats, get a little bit more viewership because he is, a fairly recognizable name. He is also someone that, they could kind of give tomato cans to, and on the other side, right, somebody who could kind of get fed to slaughter eventually to a young rising up and comer, to kind of make a name for himself. So I think it's a decent get for anybody who grabs him, whether it be Bellator or ACB or any other promotion. I don't think he has a lot of fights left under his belt, but he's still got a few more. And like you said, is any promoter, with some long-term vision and some short-term vision as well, right? Could put some fans in seats, get a little bit more viewership, and then eventually throw him to a young name, possibly watch him get dismantled or have that young name make a name for himself, and then just keep on trucking from there.
Yeah, it's a great. Frank Mir still got some. He's got a couple of fights left in him. It's great to throw old guys to the glue factory. Old horses go to the glue factory. Can't use them to run no more. Use their hooves for glue. Speaking of old horses, Yoel Romero is extremely old. I was talking to my college roommate, EJ Brooks, Bellator talent, fighting this week on Bellator. He was Yoel Romero's roommate at the American Top Team. And he brought up a great point to me. Now, he said he was not disappointed in Yoel's performance because a lot of his cardiovascular woes have to do with his age. He is 40 years old. And although he doesn't look it, as you get older, your cardiovascular threshold and your ability, your endurance, and recovery all decline. Fighting is a young man's game. Were you disappointed in Yoel Romero's performance, or is that pretty freaking damn good for a 40-year-old? I mean, I think that's pretty damn good for a 40-year-old. How many other 40-year-olds are still fighting on the championship level? We're getting Yoel Romero about 10 to 12 years late. So I guess this is a very admirable performance. I've been thinking it was because he wasn't working hard enough or because he's too muscular. But like my roommate said, he's just old, man. He's 40. Even 3 years ago, he's probably a lot more durable. What do you think?
So I'm going to say I was impressed by his performance, right? The guy's a freak of nature. The guy's 40 and the guy's jack. I mean, I'm 10 years his junior, and I wish I had a body like that, But I think it's a few things. I think it's age. I think it's the fact he is so muscular and that consumes a lot more energy. He's also, I think that people don't seem to realize, right, is that he's always seemed to have cardio issues. We've never seen him in a 5-round fight. And he has always been a bit of a slow starter, and he always kind of feints and kind of fakes takedowns and doesn't use much of wrestling, and has never been a high output striker. And then, it seems like every single time that he's on the ropes or he's about to lose, he pulls out some crazy KO or some crazy TKO and finishes a fight. But with all that being said, I mean, I think he put on a hell of a performance against Whitaker. He took those first 2 rounds, and Whitaker came back, and Whitaker really just showed a lot of heart and guts. And his cardio didn't look. I mean, he's always been, like I said, a low output guy. His cardio didn't look awful till I would say about the 5th round, where you could tell he was gassed. And once Whitaker kind of got on top of him, was kind of in his guard. There wasn't much that he was going to do. That was it. He was going to end up. The 5th round was going to end up with Whitaker on top of him, and it was going to end that way. There's no way he was getting back up to his feet. I heard Rogan and Anik, saying he's got to end up on his feet, and just watching that fight, I was like, there's no shot this guy's getting back up to his feet. But with all that being said, for a guy that's 40, a guy that's known to not be a high output guy, who's kind of pulled knockouts and TKOs out of his ass.
And he's clean. He hadn't been using steroids. That's another point my roommate brought up. He's 40 and has never had to help a performance in enhancing drugs.
I mean, listen. I think somewhere down the line there might be, but
think about
no
this.
pro.
He was international wrestling, and they've been using USADA for longer than the UFC. So he's been doing high level drug tests for past 20 years, probably.
Yeah, but I don't know how. I mean, listen, you saw it, and I feel like it's like a game of like, it's a game of like, it's a counter punching. I feel like every time there seems to be something new on the drug that the new type of steroid that they can't test for, then it's like it's like a seesaw. It sways one way and it sways the other. I mean, listen, I could be wrong, and I'm speculating here, but a guy that's 40, that's like that ridiculously jacked, I find it hard to believe he hasn't doped once in his career. But who knows? Like I said, I'm just speculating here. I don't have any facts. But regardless, with all that being said, hats off to him. I thought it was a hell of a performance for him against a killer in Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker dismantled Jacare in his last fight, absolutely dismantled Derek Brunson. I think Yoel put on a hell of a performance. So, like I said, my hat's off to him. Yeah, for a guy that's 40 that could do that, that's a hell of a feat.
Okay, let's get into this Art Jimmerson interview on UFC Legends. This is going to be a new segment. We're going to bring in UFC Hall of Famer, guys from the past, big time guys, anybody that's got a legendary status in the sport. We'll be bringing them in and talking with them. So we got Art One Glove Jimmerson from UFC 1 now. Hope you guys enjoy this sit down talk that I have from him. He's from my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri. Check it out.
No problem.
Okay. All right. I just got a couple quick questions for you.
No problem, man. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Mr. Jimmerson?
I'm great, man. You have to, yeah, I'm honored, man. I really am, man. I'm honored because of the fact that this UFC thing is still going on 20-some years later. I mean, I was told at the beginning of this thing only the last couple of years, man, it would die because of Super Bowl bird. But we're still here. It's crazy.
It is. You're from the St. Louis area like me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm from St. Louis. So I saw your son play football as a kid growing up. Now,
yes.
did he ever box or was he not interested? AJ Jimmerson.
No. Yeah, he loves football, but he did. I trained him a couple times in the gym. I mean, both my boys, I trained in the gym. He also trained under Harold Payday at one time. He never took it a step further. He went back and played arena football. So right now, he's working. He got a great job, but he did try out for a minute. More so amateur. He did more sparring than anything. More sparring.
Okay, so he trained under Harold Petty. Whenever I trained boxing, that was the first gym that I trained at, and I interviewed Harold a couple weeks ago before the Tyron Woodley fight because he trains Tyron Woodley.
Okay.
So you amassed, if people aren't familiar, you amassed a professional boxing record of 33, 18, and 0. When did you start boxing? Did you win any titles? And I saw that you start racking up a lot of losses at the end of your career. The beginning of your career is very well. Do you think that you spent too much time in the sport and a lot of TKOs as well? Did you just box because you love the competition? Kind of sum up your career for me here.
Yeah, well, of course, in the beginning, like I said, I was undefeated in the first 4 or 5 fights. I got a contract, man, huge contract out in California back in 1985 for over $100,000. I mean, it was crazy because I lost in the Olympics, and going toward the Olympics, I fought Virgil Hill, who eventually won the Olympics.
Wait a minute. So the Olympic trials or the actual Olympic Games?
No, the Olympic trials. And the trials, I fought Virgil Hill, the Olympic winner. Like he won the silver medals. I fought him one of the tournaments before the trials. I lost him on the decisions. I was in the top 4. I mean, I have a clip right now, man, or an article basically from one of the old books back in the day, amateur books. I was ranked number 2 in the country at middleweight as a middleweight for the Olympics. And the year before the Olympics in 1983, I won the National Golden Glove. I lost going toward the Olympics. I lost in a couple of tournaments, so it kind of threw me out of the way. But in doing so, like I said, I roommate with Mark Bruno. Me and Mike Tyson are real good friends. We got to be real good friends because, like I said, we travel all the country together. Funny thing was that, again, the closer to the Olympics, everybody's going to put together on their best show. So, right before the Olympics, like I said, I didn't make the team. I lost in the Olympic trials here in the States. So what happened is that I ended up coming out to California. I got a call from a guy was interested in looking at me, and he looked at me, and named Art Miles. Art Miles was a cool guy, man. He's passed away. He's passed away now. But anyway, we ended up getting a contract with a doctor out here, who gave me $115,000 in cash. I mean, he loved me for being a fighter. I fought one fight.
Was he a sponsor?
No. What happened is I fought a fight here in San Diego, and I had no manager. This is the last minute card, and they needed a fighter. So I had never fought before, my first debut. So coming down, I said, you know what, I'll take the fight. So here's the fight. I was fighting a hometown kid too, who's like really, really a popular guy. I ended up knocking him out in the first round. But so what happened is that we started getting offers from people to sponsor me, or not sponsor me, but become a manager. So finally, the doctor out of the audience, he ended up saying, he wanted to be my manager. So he gave me $115,000 up front. I mean, it was crazy. And we asked for it, of course. But again, I said I hadn't won the Olympics. I had won a couple of major titles in the amateurs. But anyway, it was a praise Jesus. It was a God-given blessing. So I was with him for about 2 or 3 years. And then, like I said, had a great in the beginning. I was undefeated, and I had won a couple awards. I remember one time. Have you ever heard of Michael Nunn?
Michael Nunn. I'm kind of a young guy, so, and I didn't get into boxing, so no, not really.
Anyway, so a lot of these guys I worked out with who like world champions now, and like I said again, I was very fortunate to be around people like him and all of the other real good. So I had a great career getting into the boxing game out here in California. But then after that, I got my first loss, like, I think while my sixth fight, my first loss, and then they started kind of like going back and forth. Went back to St. Louis, I racked up like 7 or 8 wins in a row. I'm sorry, 15 wins in a row. So I had 15 wins in a row. So I had 15 wins, not losing in 3 years. That's when I got a call from Art Davey. And Art Davey said, hey, Art, we're interested in using a real fighter because right now we're putting together a tournament. I said, what kind of tournament? This tournament called UFC. And I never heard of it, like I said again. And a guy named, what's his name? His name is Art. He's from St. Louis. He's a quality guy. His name is Art. What's Art's last name? Dang. But anyway, he introduced me to the other guy named Art. So we started talking back and forth. And my manager at the time, they were lawyers. They were like, all right, if you want to do it, you can do it. But we'll see what kind of fight it is. So I verbally committed to it, saying I'll do it. Because like I said, I'm always up for a challenge. But what happened is that are we taping now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's good being. I love getting all the original UFC guys and getting all the details. So this is all great, man. Go ahead.
I'll talk to you, okay? Yeah, like I said, I know it's your show, but I know we were taping now. It's cool. No problem. So it happened that, so again, I had 15 straight wins, had lost 3 years, and I was moving up the rankings. So I got the guy in St. Louis named Art. I forgot Art's last name, but anyway, he introduced me to another guy. So finally, they called me and said, all right, we got a tournament coming up called the UFC. It's something like the video game of Street Fighter, where basically all these different arts get in the tournament and they fight in the ring. It's like whoever comes out for that, they win $50,000 in his gold medallion. So again, like I said, I'm always up for a fight. So I thought about it, man. So I went to my managers, and again, they were kind of green in the boxing business. They had a lot of money. They're like, all right, look, what you want to do, you can do it, man. It's $10,000 up front. You can take the whole purses. We're not worried about it. I said, cool. So
it was $10,000 up front to participate in the tournament?
No, yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. If anybody, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. What happened is that because of who I was, right? Because all the other guys only got 1,000, but because of my ranking, also because of me being, who I was for, the boxing, they were like, we'll pay you extra. I guess, you're legitimate. We can get you for, So they wanted to make sure that you got me. So basically, they offered me $10,000 up front. So we get $10,000 if you get in the first. If you come up, if you want to get in the tournament. So finally, when we looked it up, and yeah, you understand too. Wasn't no internet, wasn't no Google, wasn't no Facebook or Instagram, wasn't no nothing. Just back in 1993. It just came out. So basically, you couldn't go online and find about it. I mean, you had to search like encyclopedia or word of mouth. So really, there was no chance of us trying to find out what jiu-jitsu was or even who Royce Gracie was. I never heard of no Royce Gracie or even jiu-jitsu. So what happened is that what happened is that I verbally agreed to it. I said, okay, man, I'll do it. I'm up for the fight. I'm fighting. So you see, you're gonna be fighting some skinny kid. There is no weight limits, and we're gonna give you $10,000 up front if you want to do it. So they looked me up to find out who I was, saw my career, who I had fought, and basically I had fought like 5 world champions. They're like, you know what? We're gonna give you $10,000. Okay, cool. win or lose, there's no way to also it won't be on your boxing record. So I said, okay, cool, great. So my managers, we both talked about it, we agreed, we'll do it. So finally, I found out how my bracket was. I'm like, you think I'm crazy. I'm not fighting this thing. I'm a UFC fan. It's about no rules, anything goes. It's like, I can get hurt or get cut. But I was like, I panicked, man. So I ain't doing this thing. So finally, let's see, you know what we'll do? We'll double it. We'll give you $25, plus we'll go ahead and get larger London insurance, because that's the insurance they the best around, so they'll cover any injuries, because you still have a family, you still have a life. So it's like, you know, so after this thing's over with, you know.
Were you the only fighter that was insured on that card?
All I know is this. All I know is that we had we basically talked to him, I guess, on the side, because like I said, I don't know about other fighters. I don't know that when I talked to him, my manager talked to him, we had an agreement that, you know, again, I'm still active as a professional. I mean, I'm still like going through rankings as a boxer, not a UFC fighter, as a boxer. So basically, I had a family, I had a home. So basically, like, I didn't want to get hurt. So my whole thing was, you know, when they told me no rules, man, and like anything goes, elbows, knees, kicks, and like you can break a limb, it's like, you know, you gotta be crazy, man. So in boxing, like I said, you know, we have some injuries. It's like we have on gloves, we have a referee in there. This thing is in a cage, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you gotta understand too. This was back in 1993, the first UFC ever, first one nobody ever seen it. Like, so again, they're coming from Brazil. So again, like I said, it was crazy, man. You know? And just me, even to this day, I'm thinking back how they get involved with it. But anyway, so for the other fighters, I don't know what happened with them or were they getting insured. All I know is that I remember, I think I was the only one that got paid that kind of money, because, like I said, you know, me being a legitimate fighter, I would say. So, we agreed to it. They agreed to give me larger London insurance, to cover me for if I have any injuries. Also, they will give me $10,000 up front. And so, you know, we'll double it. We'll give you $20,000 up front, and plus we'll give you a larger London insurance. I said, great. So when we got to the tournament, they flew me in. It was so cool, man. They flew me and my wife in. They gave us a red carpet. I mean, we had lobster every night, man. We had steak. We had a sweet. I mean, it was like they fattened us up for the kill, man. It was crazy. We get there, and I'm serious. I mean, we get there, man. It was like all set up, right? I'm not saying fights are set up. It was set up the Gracie's to win, because, you know, you can't put a boxer in there with a jiu-jitsu guy. You said it at that time, because I remember
a lot of people. Now, you're not the only person to say that. Tank Abbott, a lot of guys that participated in those early tournaments talk about how the Gracie set it up for Royce to win by putting him in favorable matches and a favorable side of the bracket.
Exactly. So the funny thing about it, man, like I said, you go back, I mean, it's crazy, because, like I said, it's like the movie with Bruce Lee, you know, when you walk in, they're like Mr. Leroy, it's like a tournament. We get there, and it's me, Ken Shamrock, Pat Smith, Boyce, and all these other guys who are like legends now, 8 fighters. We all get there, and everybody's kind of like nervous, because, I mean, man, Aiemann was so fit he can cut through it. So everybody's like, you know, he's a kickboxer, he's a boxer, he's a jiu-jitsu, he's a, you know, a grappler. So, you know, we all got different arts, and I'm kind of nervous. I'm not nervous. I'm thinking, with me being a boxer, you know, because even on the video game Street Fighter, the boxer has a nice jab. You know what I'm saying? I'm just myself. I'm gonna kill these guys. I'm fishing. I'm having fun. I'm gonna kill these guys, right? Plus, I've been fighting for almost probably 20-some years. I mean, amateur and pro. So like, I have so much more experience than these guys I thought. You know. So again, so I had that sense of knowing like how to put fear in people's eyes. Hoist wouldn't even look at me, man. I mean, it was to the point where Hoist, he was like halfway look at me. He would look at me in my eyes, because I could see in his eyes he had fear. But you gotta understand, it's the first time he ever did this. All of us, first time we ever did this. So think about it.
So you think Royce Gracie was afraid in that first fight? You think he was hesitant?
I don't think he was afraid. I don't think he was too strong. I think he was cautious. Cautious. Again, you know, because the thing about it, you gotta understand. He told me. I mean, even to this day, he tell me, all right, you either hit me or knock me out. He told me. I mean, even after the fight, if you go back and watch UFC 1, we hugged, right? The first thing he told me was, thanks for not hurting me. It's the first thing he told me. I was shocked. I was like, what? Thanks for not hurting me. I even got a glove right now. I see him a lot, because right now I do a lot of signing. And people all over the country call me, all right. Man, I had a guy, listen to this, even to this day, I have guys send me mail, like fan mail, with money inside a glove saying, sign the glove for me, your R1 glove Jimmerson. It's crazy, man, you know? And the other thing is, I have a guy right now who offered me, for the original glove from UFC 1, he offered me $60,000 for the glove. $60,000
$60,000 for the glove. Now, why didn't you ever do another fight after? Now, when I watched that fight as a kid, because I remember watching it as a kid, my Uncle Valdez brought the tapes over to the house, and I saw this guy with nice hair and one boxing glove, and I'm like, who is this sissy that tapped out after 1 second? I don't get it. I was a kid at the time, so I was very harsh. But I didn't know you were from St. Louis at the time, or I think I figured that out later. But why didn't you fight? Having such a good boxing background, why didn't you go and sharpen yourself and fight again? Because your boxing career was still in tow?
No. You understand? See, yeah, first UFC. Everybody keep missing this, all right? The most important word is first. First UFC, right? Think about the first basketball game ever, the first baseball game ever. Like, nobody knows, right? I mean, in basketball back in the day, they had baskets. They had like apple baskets. So nobody knew. So think about it. Ernest Hart. This guy named Ernest Hart. Ernest Hart was the guy that introduced me to Art Davies. So anyway, so it happens that Ernest Hart, who was a karate guy in St. Louis, champion, he told me about the tournament. He tried to show me some things about, kicking and blocking. But again, you don't know, man. Cause like I said, the thing about it, it's just like trying to make a basketball player into a football player, or a football player into a boxer. It's crazy, I mean, so like I said, going to the tournament, I had no idea what I was getting into. I just remember, some rules about, how to kind of block a kick, or I don't know nothing about no takedown, I don't know about mountain, I don't know nothing about that. So what happened is that when we get to the fight, or we get to Denver, like I said, I was just happy to be there, knowing that I'm going to knock these guys out. Because think about it. If I'm in the ring, in the regular boxing ring, okay, in a regular boxing ring, I was in the gym knocking out cats with 60-ounce gloves, man. I was killing them, right? So I'm thinking, I'm going to kill this guy. I feel sorry for Hoist. I'm thinking, I have no gloves on. They told me, you can't wrap your knuckles, leave your nose open, because we want to make sure you get a good punch in. Like, what? I mean, even Jim Brown, the all-time Hall of Famer, he was there. He was telling me, all right, do the best you can. Because he knew that, they knew the advantage that they already knew, and once Hoist took me down, it was over. So
yeah, because Jim was training with the Gracies, I believe, wasn't he, at the time, wasn't he?
Jim who?
Jim Brown, yeah.
I don't know. What I do know, one writer in California, he said, Art Jimmerson going to fight Hoist Gracie. Right now I'm living in California. He said it was the equivalent of putting a 16-year-old kid with getting his driver's license, right? 16-year-old kid gets his driver's license on a 405 highway in rush hour.
Well, exactly.
So for me going there without having no knowledge at all, what I was going to do, it was crazy.
So but why didn't you take another fight to try and redeem yourself from said performance?
Well, again, like I said, all right, let me go back to what I was saying. So the thing about it is that, so I'm in the background getting ready for the fight, right? So again, like I said, I'm the third fighter of the night. And usually before the first, to get warmed up, I fought on a whole bunch of main events. So what happened is that I'm all excited, man, I'm ready to go, and my manager's back there with me. So finally, the first two fights were so barbaric, and it was crazy, because the place was packed. It was sold out, man. It was like standing room only. So I went outside for the first two fights. I set up in the bleachers, right, looking at the fight. And man, I was like, oh my goodness, you guys are serious, right? I mean, like I say, one guy got teeth knocked out.
Yeah, Gerard Gordeau knocked out Taylor Tooley's tooth, for all you listeners. And then Kevin Rozier knocked out Zane Frazier, if you ever want to go back and look at it. Those were the first two fights. Hoist Gracie versus Art Jimmerson was the third fight.
Right. So what happened, I'm in the back, I'm in the dressing room, right, getting ready for the fight. We all became like kind of friends, so like I said, we around these guys for like, we brought in 2 weeks early. 2 weeks early, we had MTV there. I didn't know how big the thing was going to be, man. Like I said, I was told that it wouldn't be on my boxing record. I was told that, it was like relatively small. So I'm thinking, this is like some quick money I can make on the side. Plus, who's going to see it, you know what I'm saying? So, we're back there, and I started seeing MTV come in, different reports, and I'm like, this thing's going to get big, ain't it? So, anyway, I'm back in the dressing room. Here comes, Gerard with his like jaw hanging out. So he's like, put your back in place. And it's like, this thing is crazy. So my manager, literally, one of my managers came back with tears in his eyes saying, all right, you know what? We're out of here, man. I said, huh? Then we're out of here. So this thing is too barbaric. You're not going to get hurt. So I'm going to be on my conscience. Just go. So we're lawyers. If we have to sue us, so what? They'll sue us. But then, no, I can't do that. So I've already made a commitment. I said, man, I'm a fighter. I'm winning this thing, man. I said, this is what I just do it, man. He said, okay, if you want to. He said, right now, if you want, you can walk out. So I didn't think it was going to be this more pride. It was going to be this serious, right? So let's do it. So I'm the third fight. So we decided to put on one glove because, again, I still had a family and a boxing career ahead of me. So I said, well, I want to hurt my hand. So I'm thinking, like, again, if I'm knocking out guys in the gym with 6-ounce gloves, well, I'm going to kill Hoist. So So I put the glove on, and they tried to get me to wear 2 gloves. They're like, all right, you wear another one, you wear 2. So they already knew what was going to happen. So they said, all right, so you want to wear 2 gloves tonight? I don't know, wear 1 glove. I put 1 glove on, and who would know that, this would be my name, even to this day. So I put on 1 glove. The 1 glove basically was just like throw him in, circle him in. Basically, it's like it'd be a soft punch, and then I hit it with the right hand and knock him out. That's what we planned on. So put on 1 glove, and we ready to go out there. So, man, you wouldn't believe. So I get out there, and I'm in the ring, like I'm real, ready to go out there, and Prison Point, and I see him with all these just like line of brothers, right? Like a
Gracie train.
Yeah. So like the Jacksons, I'm like, my the Jacksons. So they all come in, right? So I did not know how big this thing was until the announcer said, in the red corner from St. Louis, Missouri, or Jimmerson. I got like 2 claps, man. 1 clap from one from my trainer and 1 from my quarterback. We came in, man. When they said Hoist Gracie, man, the place erupted so loud. Seriously, I had to hold on to the fence, man, from not falling. He just shook the whole ground, man. Hoist Gracie, man, everybody went crazy, right? But oh my goodness, what did I get myself into, right? So I was kind of like, well, what's going on, right? But I still had that fighter sense in me. So finally, when we got ready to fight, I went toward him. If you watch the fight, I went toward him, right? And what happened? He turned southpaw. So I knew that with him kicking at me, it would be some kind of like throw me off. But looking back now at the tape, of course I would have rushed him and do some punches. But again, who knew? So I went toward him. He started backing up. But then he started flicking a kick at me. So flicking a kick at me, flicking. Finally, I said, all right, look, I don't want to get kicked where basically, he can get punched at. So let me just go around lateral. Okay, so I went around lateral, kind of throw him off. Then before I knew it, man, he did a feint to the top, came out and grabbed my legs from the bottom and threw me over. Once he threw me over, I felt he did it. Now I know it's because I mount. He mounted me. At the time, I didn't know what happened because I remember I think I was holding my feet because I couldn't. I'm thinking this guy only weighs 100 pounds, right, or 99 pounds. I'm like 200 pounds. I could have throw him over easy. But I couldn't even budge him. I'm like, what's going on? Man? Who's holding my leg? Because like I said, I knew nothing about jiu-jitsu. So once he got me down and got me mounted, I seriously, I'm telling him, all right, let me up, man. Give me an 8 count. He got me on the ground. But I'm still fighting. I think it was like that boxing mentality. So when he got me on the ground, first thing I told the referee, hey, man, come on, let me up. Give me an 8 count, right? And even before that, I was telling him, don't feel he's kicking. So again, my wires are all screwed up because, like I said, I'm thinking he's cheating. I mean, he's kicking at me. He got me on the ground, wrestling me. Well, what's going on? So I'm still in a boxing atmosphere mindset. So finally, once he started headbutting me, then he tried to get my neck. To the point, I tried to roll over one time, but then I remember John McCarthy telling me, "Hey, all right, man, if you ever let me get your neck, he'll choke you out." So I mean, these guys all all playing, man. Well, basically, of course, they wanted the Gracies to win. So finally, once Hoist got me in a position where basically I couldn't do anything, man, I just tapped.
And you didn't think you could come back and beat anybody else that was in the tournament at a later date?
Well, once I tapped, like I said, let's go back. Once I tapped, I got up and Hoist gave me. He said, "Hey, all right, man, basically hitting me." So I was so upset, man. I was so mad because, like I said, they kind of tricked me, man. Because even before the fight, let me go back and tell you this too. Before the fight,
I see.
Yeah, before the fight, right? It's a true story. Before the fight, this is the first UFC ever, so nobody knew what kind of money it would bring in, right? So before the fight, they didn't know what kind of gate they was going to draw. So it took me to the fact that, all right, look, they said right now we guarantee you $20,000, but look, we don't know what's going to happen. So right now, can we just give you a percentage of the UFC, like a percentage of it? Then we'll also give you some money too. Can we do that? And man, my manager said, all right, no, man, take all the money and run. This thing ain't going to last a couple of years. We're going to lose out. We take the money and run. Could you imagine if I got 1% of the UFC at the time? But we said no.
I know. I heard that story before. So after you lost that fight, did you feel betrayed by what they had gotten you into?
Of course I did, man. Because the thing about it, I went home, right? True story. I went home, right? And what happened is that I went to a boxing match, amateur boxing match at home in St. Louis. I remember a little young kid come up to me, man. He said, "Hey, man, all right, Jimmy," said, "Man, oh wow, he fought with 1 glove." I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "How did he see it?" It was like it just happened a week ago, but he saw it. So somehow it got to the point where I was so mad, man, because I hadn't lost in in 3 years and 15 fights. This is my first loss, and even though it wasn't really a loss in boxing. I cried that night, man. I'm sure, I had a tear in my eye because my wife was like, "What are you crying about? You said in your sport." They had a masquerade party that night. We all went. Me, Hoyce, and we all Ken Shamrock. People came there, teeth knocked out, man. Busted up. Teddy Cooler came in with a big black eye. Man, I got pictures with these guys, man, right now in my photo album. And it's so funny because we get there, and I'm like the only one really sad. Like, they're like, what you so sad about, man? Where's the party? I said, no, man, I lost. I said, I don't want to lose. I said, I lost anything, So I was upset about that.
So it was your competitive nature and wanting to be the best that kind of kept you away from participating again. Very interesting.
Exactly.
Now, I got about probably 2 more questions for you. One, I've kind of noticed over time that your speech has kind of slurred a little bit. Is that from how many boxing fights you took? Is that CTE?
No. I think what happened, my mom's Creole, okay? I've always had a problem talking. I talk real fast. And even, my mom's Creole, so I'm very part Spanish. So what happened is that even growing up, I had a hard time stuttering. I stuttered all my life. It was so bad to the point where people were like making fun of me. So basically, I've always had me personally, I don't know about other fighters, but I have seen where, like I said, my speech I look back at interviews, I talk real fast, but people come on my mom's house, true story, and they heard me and my sister talking and my brothers, they're like, man, what kind of language you guys talking? Well, it wasn't a language, it's that we talk so fast from my mom being from New Orleans and just her background. It was crazy.
Oh, okay. So I thought that it was like your speech had slurred from but that's just something you always had. Okay, I was interested in that because I was like, man, this is kind of sad that Art had so many fights that he kind of, but my last question is, you really wear your faith on, well, no, I got 2 more for you. You really wear your faith in Jesus on your sleeve, and I'm a Christian too. But how have you been able to be with a mainstream company like the UFC and do all this work in California in these liberal type areas and not have really any problems? I haven't seen you suffer any persecution. You're doing really good for being an outspoken Christian man, which is kind of rare.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because again, believe it or not, man, I had a heart attack like probably 8 years ago. I had a massive heart attack. I died, on the hospital bed, back going to the emergency room. I called on the name of Jesus. So when I said Jesus, man, all I remember is just seeing this blue sky. It had his arms around me. I didn't see his face. He said 3 words. I'll never forget. He said, "I got you." And man, it's like my whole life changed because he brought me back. And when he brings me back, like I said, I'm so grateful, man. Wasn't nothing I did. All that grace of God, man, I'm here. So right now, I love sharing testimony about, and that's even on my Facebook page, where I say how Jesus saved my life from a heart attack. But I grew up in a Christian church. I grew up in a Christian atmosphere. And thank God, man, I just got back last year from Kuwait. I was over in Kuwait for almost 8 months. They hired me as a boxing trainer over there for the gym. And man, it was so cool because the people over there are so awesome. They are. And I was over there, it's a Muslim country, man.
Right, exactly.
They showed me so much love. They showed me so much love, man. It's not about me, I have to live my life as a Christian, not go around making people become a Christian, you know what I mean?
Well, let me ask you, okay, that's very interesting. So being in a Muslim country and working, how is it being such an outspoken Christian in the midst of that? How much respect did they have for you and your testimony and things like that? Tell me a little bit about that.
It was awesome, man. The whole key was letting the Holy Spirit lead me. I couldn't do it on my own. Like I said, it was having God's Spirit within me. Again, there was some people that questioned me. Some people I questioned. I remember the first time I got there, one of my coworkers, awesome guy, I love him. He's from Uzbekistan. Awesome trainer too. He said, "Hey, all right, can I ask you a question?" He said, "I won't be offensive to you." He said, "Well, are you a real Christian?" I said, "Huh?" He said, "Man, I meet too many fake Christians around here, man, that you say and they don't live it." He said, "But you different, man." He said, "What's going on?" So I was going to share with him my testimony. Also, open up the Bible and tell him, certain things, how God, changed my life. So again, like I said, look, man, I love you as a brother. I'm telling you what God did for me, and I think it touched his heart, man. It did.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. As I always am glad to see you, because it's great to see Christian people shining bright, and Art Jimmerson is always shining bright. But last but not least, do you regret not taking a piece of that UFC pie back in the day?
Let me show you one more story to you.
Or do you feel like you didn't do something right, or it just wasn't meant to be? What do you feel about that?
You know what? I don't really know, man. The whole thing about this, I remember the last show I want to tell you, last story, this is important. I remember as a senior at the UFC, right? People would call me all the time trying to get interviews. I would say, no way. I didn't want to do it. I was so mad at the UFC, right? So every time somebody wanted to do an interview, I shut them off. I say, no, right? Finally, me, a good friend of mine named Richard Banks, who's an attorney in St. Louis, also Evander Holyfield. We're all downtown in St. Louis eating at this real nice hotel, right? We're all eating down at a hotel. And this is one of my boxing clients I was training. And we're all down there eating with our girlfriend, with our wife. We're all eating. And these two guys walk by and go, oh my goodness. Or one glove Jimmerson, they go, Evander Holyfield. I said, one glove Jimmerson, I never heard of his name, right? Yeah, man, you're the UFC. I mean, we love you, man. We're UFC fans. Then they look over to Holyfield and go, Mr. Holyfield, no disrespect, we love UFC fans. Can we get a picture with this guy? I was shocked, man. I was like, wow. These guys want a picture with me more than Holyfield. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool. So you don't have any regrets looking back, huh?
Well, you know what? I don't, because again, like I said, you know, who knew? You know what I'm saying? I did great in boxing, but I think the UFC just really, you know, got me out to the point where even to this day, man, like I said, I get so much mail, I get so much fan love from UFC, man. It's overwhelming, man. It really is.
And do you work at the UFC gym right now? Or are you just doing what do you do right now? You on your own personal training stuff, retired, or what's life like out there in California?
Awesome. I'm retired. Like I said, I was working for UFC, two of the gyms part-time over in Rosemary, also one over in Torrance. But the thing about it is that now I do a lot of private classes everywhere. I'm all over California. I'm from Wilshire to all the way here over in Pasadena. I'm all over the place training. So I mean, I'm so busy, man, to the point where I have to turn class away. But it's something I love doing.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to have you on today. I've been trying to get a hold of a bunch more UFC legends. I don't know where most of these guys are, but it's good to have one on. Are you in any Hall of Fames? Boxing, UFC?
Yeah, I got inducted to the Hall of Fame probably about 5 years ago in St. Louis, Missouri Hall of Fame. It was a pleasure, man. I mean, I'm honored, man, because again, you know, this is a kid, you gotta understand, man, this is a kid right now that you're talking to. I grew up in your city, right? And, you wouldn't believe, man, you know, a lot of things happened to me as a youngster growing up that, you know, it changed my life, man, you know, I started boxing because my next door neighbor tried to molest me, believe it or not. So I just started boxing. So thank God, you know, I got through that period, man. Thank God, you know, I thought if I told my dad would have killed the guy. But again, thank God I was able to go to boxing and learn how to fight because I wanted to defend myself.
That seems to be the story of a lot of boxers. I think you got to have some type of motivation to defend yourself in order to get into such a demanding sport. But it was great talking to you today. Thanks for just coming in on like short notice, just on Twitter. Thanks a lot. And of course, one St. Louis person to another. I wish you all the best in the future, man.
I mean, I was going to say, God bless, man. Again, like I said, Jesus is Lord, man. He will be back, man. I just want to say thank God that I pray for everybody out there, man, that's going through whatever, man. But I hope they, you know, you really realize, you know, the Bible is real, man, that, you know, again, I'm not perfect. Like I said, my whole thing is I just wanted to be able to live it and, you know, share my testimony, man, about how God saved my life, you know. So, you know, people out there that's hurt, man, I hope they get through what they're going through.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for helping me out today. And when I'm gonna have this on the next episode, so it'll be episode 2, or episode 3, and then when I do it, I'll retweet it, and then you could.
And hopefully I wasn't talking too fast, man. I talk so fast, man. I tell my clients all the time, guys, I talk fast. It's just my mother. I say, so if I talk too fast, slow me down. Okay, we're okay, all right. You know what I'm saying?
It's all good. It's all good, man. No, it's no problem. It's just good having you on.
And we're back. We're going to wrap all this up. There's one thing we forgot to talk about, which was Justin Gaethje versus Michael Johnson. What a freaking fight that was. Man, I didn't think that Justin Gaethje would be able to withstand the power shots of Michael Johnson, which he just about didn't. 2 times in the fight, in the first and the second round. But Michael Johnson didn't come out and fight his fight. He went out and fought Justin Gaethje's fight and got too tired. Man, if Michael Johnson were a bit more fight intelligent, he could have won that. Especially in the first round where he had him hurt and he went for that takedown. He had him hurt and he should have went for the knockout. It's an awesome fight though. probably the fight of the year right there. No way Justin Gaethje should have survived that. I don't know about Justin Gaethje's future, but his striking defense definitely looked better than it did in the past. So I think he's got a very bright future. The only thing that kept me off him in this fight was that I thought that Michael Johnson's power was going to destroy him, but it didn't. I forgot Dustin Poirier didn't have any type of chin, so knocking out Dustin Poirier with one punch is not at all impressive necessarily. Dave, what did you think of that fight?
So, in the words of good old Jim Ross, it was an absolute slobber knocker. I saw a bunch of people tweeting in the MMA community that Gaethje and Johnson fight was the type of fight that you show any casual fan that you're trying to get into UFC and say, listen, this is what the UFC is for the most part at its core, at its peak, right? These are the type of brawls you get. That was an absolute brawl. It was everything you can ask for. I agree. Michael Johnson didn't fight his fight. I don't know if that's starting to become a thing with the Henry Hooft fighters, right? Where Rumble's last fight, he kind of came in and fought DC's fight as opposed to, kind of stand up. He tried to shoot and try to wrestle with DC,
it's a Black
which was a mistake.
Thing.
Yeah, well, Black Zillions and Henry Hooft aren't, they kind of dismantled. So Henry Hooft has his gym now in Florida as well. And I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I really don't know what it is, because it seemed like when Michael Johnson was most successful when he was at range, he was controlling the center of the octagon, kind of trying to give Gaethje different looks and different angles. But Gaethje kept kind of moving forward, pressing him up against the cage. But that was one hell of a fight. Kudos to both those guys. I respect the hell out of Justin Gaethje for saying, I never heard anything realer than this, where Gaethje said, he was like, I'm going to get knocked out. And it's a matter of, when I get knocked out. But until it happens, it's something along those lines. Obviously, he didn't say that. That's not what he said verbatim, but he was like, I basically know what I'm going to get knocked the hell out sometime in the UFC, but let's see who could do it to me. So, fucking the hell of a respect to both those guys, because that was a fucking brawl, and that was a great fight. And unless a fight comes along in the next few months that tops that, which I find it hard to see or hard to believe. That's I think a shoo-in for fight of the year.
Yeah, I don't know how Justin Gaethje came back, but that's all for the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Next week on the School of Black Negro Jitsu, we're going to sit down with Leo Kuntz, who is a part of the only known and admitted fixed fight in mixed martial arts history. We're going to talk about fixed fights next week. It's pretty damn interesting. The Korean Mafia, $1 million on his put $1 million on him, gave $100,000 to his opponent. We're gonna have an interview, and then we're gonna talk about the history of fixed fights and combat sports history. Also on deck next week, hopefully we can have a physical therapist or doctor on to talk about sinusitis, sinus infections. Maybe Kevin Nicholson, he's a physical therapist. I don't know if that's necessarily his area of expertise. I'm gonna try and get in contact with somebody though. A lot more. I've got some great legends coming up. I'm gonna try and reschedule something with Frank Trigg, and I've got some more UFC 1 legends for you guys. It's a big surprise though. So, all right, guys, that's the School of Black Negro Jitsu for this week. Got to thank my co-instructor Dave, Ball Club Box. Dave, you got anything to say before we leave?
Nope. Just subscribe, leave us some good ratings. Tweet at us. Let us know what you guys think, because obviously all the listeners' feedback I think is very important to us. And, just let us know what we could do, if anything, to keep growing and keep, schooling people in the art of Black Negro Jitsu.
That's right, Black Negro Jitsu. Don't be afraid to say it, Dave. It's my martial art, and I'm a master. So, yeah, man, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Go check out our Facebook page. Go check out the MMA Edge Fantasy Podcast, Black Market Picks 2. It's all under the School of Black Negro Jitsu. Just type it in on iTunes, baby. Stitcher, SoundCloud. Enroll in the school. Go we're gonna get an enrollment course going for the School of Black Negro Jitsu where you can get your diploma, get rankings, move up the ranks. We're gonna give you a chance to be a part of it. So that's all for episode 3. Hope you guys enjoying it. Peace out.